Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 10th webinar session for Library Skills for Library Liaison. My name's Sandy Ray, and I'm from Griffith University. I'll be the moderator today. I also have Jackie Wolstenholme from James Cook University and the convener of the Research Skills Working Party to help facilitate today's session. Before we get started, let's just run through some housekeeping rules. Please remember that the session is being recorded, including audio and chats. If you can turn off your video, that's help, as it does slow down the system a little bit. If you are using a microphone and would like to ask a question, just raise your hand in the Collaborate link on the left, and then click the talk button. And then after you finish speaking, click the talk button again to turn off the microphone. Chat, use the chat to ask questions and give comments as we go through this session. Just remember, no private chats. Keep it friendly, professional and productive. So just having a little look at the panel on the left, and we'll have a look at the Collaborate tools. Just under your name, you'll see there's a smiley face, a person, a hand, and usually there's a tick, but there's a little different symbol today because we might be running a couple of polls. So to just give me an indication that you can see those by clicking on the smiley face, just give me an indication that you know where those participant tools are. If everyone could just give me a click on those, that's great. Is everyone familiar with those tools? Can anyone hear me? Give me a click on the smiley face. Jackie's not getting any audio.
Just testing. Can everyone hear me? This is Lynette here. If you can hear me, just thank you, John. I've got a few more chats. Yes, great. Could everyone hear Sandy?
Yeah, yes, I think so.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
all right.
cool.
Just checking. All right. So there's the participant tools that you can use. And just, I'll be monitoring the chat as we go through the afternoon. So just type in any questions and we'll get to them at the end of the session, and we'll do the questions and answers right at the very end. If you are logging in with a group, if there's a few of you sitting together doing the session today, could you just put in the number in your group in the chat window as well? Okay, now Jackie is going to introduce the presenters.
Hi Sandy, it's Jackie here. Can everyone hear me? Did
Yes.
I just say yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm really pleased to be introducing Lynette and John for today's session. Lynette has been working in libraries for over 17 years. She started her career in public libraries before moving into tertiary libraries. After completing her Masters of Information Management degree in 2004, she joined Nanyang Technological University in Singapore as an instructional librarian. Lynette is now the Information Literacy Librarian for the Arts, Education and Law team with Library and Learning Services at Griffith Uni. Lynette is also the QLOC Bibliographic Software Officer. And John Anderson is a Client Services Librarian at UQ. He has been supporting users of EndNote for approximately 14 years and has recently started to refer to himself in the third person. In that time, he has seen an increase in the use of bibliographic management software by researchers and a decrease in the level of technical skills required to operate it. The use of bibliographic management software is well established as a standard tool for researchers to the point that databases and online publishers risk appearing second-rate if they fail to offer an export option. John believes that there has also been fewer major technical faults in comparison to earlier versions, and basic troubleshooting now only requires minimal training. John argues that the significance of this tool and its relatively simple operation means researchers should be able to rely on support from their librarians, which I think really sets the scene nicely for today's webinar. So over to you, Lynette.
Thank you, Jackie. Welcome to the second part of the Bibliographic Software Masterclass. We're focusing on the software that researchers are using. Today, John and I will be presenting this on behalf of the Bibliographic Software Committee. I will be focusing on a few different software and highlight their strengths and weaknesses. And then for those and institutions that are considering the Mendeley path, John will be discussing and comparing the Mendeley with EndNote. So, let me click my next slide. Just an overview of the committee. We do have 6 in our committee at the moment from UQ, QUT, SCU, USQ, and Griffith University. As a committee, we do test and keep up to date with EndNote, as this is predominantly what most of the institutions offer support in. However, as I'm sure most of you know, EndNote's not the only software on the market these days for researchers to use. Bibliographic software are popping up a lot faster than we can test them and offer support in. So today we just picked a couple to showcase that we thought were interesting and worth a mention. Now, just a quick poll. I just want to see where we are with everybody here in the participation in the main room here. Under your name, next to the hand, you'll see a little drop-down box with the A, B, C, D, or E. I just want a quick poll and see what is it that your institution is mainly supporting with bibliographic software. Is it EndNote, Mendeley, ProQuestFlow, RefWorks, or Zotero? If you just give us a drop-down, and then we can do a quick poll and have a look. Great, and I think Sandy now will just quickly show us the chart. Cool. We've got 80% using EndNote. No surprises there. Okay, so let's clear that one. And let's do another poll. This time, which is the second most popular software that you're being asked about? You don't necessarily have to support the researchers in as an institution, but what is it that you get asked about from the researchers? Got a few mixed ones here. I see a few coming through. Just give another second. You're free to type in the chat. If it's more than one, type it all in the chat, Barbara. Okay, let's do a quick check. What's the poll coming up? Oh, interesting. 40% on Mendeley, no one on ProQuestFlow. RefWorks, 13%, none. Okay, interesting. Always good to know. Okay, what I'm going to show you now is just basically a timeline of how bibliographic software is popping up. So in 1988 and 1997, we really only had 3 players. So Biblioscape, EndNote, and Sunny Software. I think that was a Mac one from memory. Then 2001 to 2004, we had Citavi, Zotero, Mendeley, and Doppia. Then in 2006 to 2009, we had RefWorks, Cite You Like, RefBase. And then in 2011 to 2015, we have F1000, EndNote Basic, ReadCube, Flow, I think that's ProQuestFlow, PaperPile, and CoolWiz. So as you can see, there's a lot more. They're coming a lot faster, and this is not all that's out on the market, but these are the main ones that are popping up quite frequently. So what I'm going to talk to you, what I want to show you basically today is CoolWiz, the first one. CoolWiz has come a long way even from last year, because this was already on our radar last year. It does do a lot of the same things that EndNote does. As you can see on the page, you can search other databases, you can search Google, you can save it on the cloud, you can read it through different devices and sync it to your desktop, you can cite while you write with your Word document, you can share and collaborate with other researchers. Also, you can store your files in annotated bibliographies, etc. Now, the cool thing about CoolWiz, hence probably why it's called CoolWiz, I just realized, is that it has another thing called group calendar and group tasks. So I'm about to show you a YouTube clip. I just want to check that no one's on a mobile device. Great, no one's on a mobile device. But basically, I just want to show you a quick demo of how they're actually making CoolWiz a little bit fun. So bear with me. I'm about to share with you guys a YouTube clip, and you'll see me take you to the web tour. Great. I hope everyone could see that YouTube. As you can see, it does a little bit more than just what EndNote can do, because you can integrate with your calendar, and I think that's the highlight with CoolWhiz. And it also now allows you to have 30 gig of free space on the CoolWhiz clouds. Last year was only 2 gigabytes, so they have increased it. So just to recap, I've just put in the strengths of this particular software. You can create groups, open, private, or secret. You can invite people into this group. You can share your library, your calendar, your tasks, unlimited number of groups, and unlimited number of collaborators. That's pretty all self-explanatory in the strengths, but there is a catch, because there is a weakness. Mobile device apps are a bit sluggish in the searches. And also, if you want to use desktop application, it does require Adobe Air. Okay, so if anybody wants to explore this further, definitely it is a good one, I think, to have a look at, because it has come to a point where researchers not only want to just research about their particular topic, they are trying to integrate and collaborate with other people. So I think that calendar and task invite is a really good, their main strength, really. Now, the next one that I want to show you is F1000 Workspace, to be precise. This actually only just came to the committee probably just last week, so this is very, very new to us. So I've only just gone in and had a quick look. I haven't even been able to test it. So having a look at this one, it sounds like a Harry Potter broomstick, F1000. It is predominantly for scientists in biology and medicine. But like other software, it has the same functionalities. It does annotated bibliography, annotated PDFs. You can import these PDFs. It has the Word plugins. You can share. It does the smart citation, and you can export references between different software. So nothing really is jumping out at me with this particular one. It does say on their website that all current F1000 subscribers, example, F1000 Research or F1000 Prime, will have full access to the new F1000 Workspace. So I think there is a cost involved with this, but it's not very clear on the website. So this is something that we will keep an eye on. The next thing, well, the last thing I want to show you is ReadCube. Now, ReadCube isn't a bibliographic software per se. It is a revolutionary way to read an article, as promoted on their website. Again, before I talk about it more, I want to show you their little YouTube clip, because they do a lot better at explaining than I can. So, bear with me. Here we go. Okay, so that's just their demo page. So just a recap of their strengths. It does desktop and web components. It is just a PDF harvesting, collecting software. So this is at the research stage, because what I find that's really good with ReadCube is that it has that background other articles that are suggested to you, and it's interactive because you can click, hence the enhanced PDF reader. It can also export to other referencing software, such as EndNote and Zotero. So this is one of those complementary type of software for your referencing, bibliographic referencing software. Now there is a catch, like every other software. To stick an entire library on the cloud across your devices, so if you want to use your desktop and your iPad, you do need to use ReadQ Pro account. Now, with the ReadQ Pro account, it's unlimited storage space. It is for a low price of US $5 a month. So that enables you to have the unlimited storage space and allows you to sync across your devices. It does allow you to work with Microsoft Word. It is on a beta site at the moment. It's called Smart Site. So they're still working through that, so it's a little bit clunky, but it looks okay. Last year they had on the YouTube how they showed how they used Smart Site, but I tried looking for it again this year and they've taken it down. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there. So again, something to look out for. Now, as I mentioned at the start, as a committee, we look at a lot of software, and I'd like to show you all of them if I could, but we can't because there's a lot. So to show you what we actually look at, we actually have a massive spreadsheet that we keep up to date. It's such a big spreadsheet, I couldn't take a screenshot of it because it was just too big and you wouldn't be able to read it. So what we're going to do, what we did was we actually took a video of it, of our desktop, and I will show you what it looks like, again, on a web tour. So this is the big Google Doc screen, so I'm just scrolling across the screen now, and then it goes all the way down to the bottom. There are a few things that we look for, which I will show you on my next slide. As you can see, it's quite a big document. So we created this document because, again, there's so many different software. We just don't know we didn't realize how fast they're coming up. So if you do find a software that you're not familiar with, you've never even heard of it, these are some of the things that we go through as a checklist to see and assess a particular software. One, is it free? Mostly things are free, but there is cost tied with it, and generally that comes with the storage part, the number of records you can store with it, and the number of gigabytes it comes with. Does it support mobile devices? Do you have to pay for that? Can you share your references, and can you back it up with your syncing? Is it compatible with word processing programs? Can you export to other bibliographic software? And how steep is the learning curve for the user? Is there a lot of support material from the vendor? Do they have a forum, or do they have a Twitter account that you can ask the vendor? And how quick is the response for the vendor? Generally, if you pay it, it's within 24 hours you get a response. If it's one of those free ones like Mendeley, it's a 2-week turnaround. So these are things to just check. And also, how many different output styles does the software have? And can you actually modify these styles? And attachments, can you attach PDFs? Can you do annotated PDFs with them? There are different combinations that researchers are currently, I guess, using with the different software, and again, this is dependent on how computer literate the researcher is. Researchers can use ReadQ to get and harvest all their information, all the literature, and then they export to EndNote so that they can cite while you write. I think, from experience, for me, I wouldn't go EndNote all the time because sometimes EndNote is clunky in doing the PDF stuff. So I'll use a different software to get the PDF in and then just export it to EndNote. So sometimes that could be an option for researchers. This is a Yammer page that the committee has created. It's basically a bibliographic software Yammer page. I invite everyone to join this this community, because what we do is we talk about and discuss EndNote and other softwares that are they're on the market. If you have any questions or you can't find a workaround, put it up there, and I'll assure you someone else in the community will be able to help you. If you'd like to join this Yammer group, send me an email and I'll invite you in. My email is l.wo@griffith.edu.au, and Sammy has just put that in the chat.
Thank you, Lynette.
And I think that's all from me, and I shall pass it now to John.
I can be heard.
Thanks, John.
I hope.
Yes,
this
I
is.
can hear you.
Thank you. This is an overview, a basic overview of Mendeley, but particularly in the context of considering, think back on that list of criteria that we just saw. Some of the things that we have to factor in for the future. What do we purchase? What do we support, etc., or do we continue to support even? Mendeley asks a few questions because, to a large degree, it's increasing in its community. We're told by Mendeley that we have approximately something over 500 UQ staff and student who use it based on the email address that they use as a username, and they estimate that you should triple that number to assume users. Now, I don't know how correct it is, etc., but certainly in a survey that we've just run and comparing with last year, we do have a significant number of users. Now, this is, to a degree, I would argue, odd, because for years now we have been providing free access to quite an expensive piece of software, EndNote, and yet this continues to grow, and it continues to. We occasionally get feedback that we should be maybe doing more with Mendeley, etc. And I suspect a lot of you, particularly if you're supporting actively the bibliographic software, you will know of Mendeley. So I thought that's probably why it's a good one to look at and consider. It's particularly in the context of, even though you could almost argue we are affecting the market by offering a free package, and yet this sort of free, or to some degree freemium product is really asserting itself. What is it doing? Why are people choosing this option? To a degree, as I think Lynette said about the she possibly wouldn't use just one piece of software. I am seeing indications that people are using other software in conjunction with EndNote. So it's a bit hard to be absolutely clear, but we have to consider these things as we try and judge it. By the way, on my survey, the use of software, EndNote was just number one, massively. The majority of our survey respondents. Not surprising, because we offer it in very favourable terms. Then number two was Mendeley. The next commercial package, say RefWorks, was after the proper free open source ones such as Zotero and BibTeX came in before that. So Mendeley is certainly significant. Where are we?
Sorry, John, just to interrupt, Lynette here. Can you just turn up, speak a little bit louder? We've just had a few participants saying they can't hear you very well.
Okay, is that better? The trouble is the system seems to keep pulling me back as I talk loudly. There is a volume as well under the on the left-hand column as well. I'm not sure if people know about that
that's
one.
Better. They're saying that's better. Great.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. So anyway, why are people choosing this option? When I would argue, I'm showing this incredibly boring slide for a reason. When you compare, particularly as information professionals, librarians, whatever we call ourselves, our assessment of something like EndNote is that it is far more sophisticated. There's far more you can do with it in comparison to, say, if I brought up the preferences, etc. in Mendeley, there is next to no settings in there. So you would think in some assessment that it is it's a limited product in comparison, but still people are choosing to use it across, particularly using the fact that they can certainly start free. So presumably maybe people in commercial R&D, or I wonder also if a lot of people from, say, American universities, etc., which may not offer the sort of packages that seems to be, from my sort of survey of the universities, we pretty much all offer access to it, EndNote in the majority, and RefWorks as well. Whereas some people are having to seek out the sort of freer options, the freemium options such as this. So as I said, we are finding people choosing to use it, and possibly one of the reasons is in comparison to EndNote. Even though EndNote is wonderfully sophisticated, I'm in my past with working with academics and researchers, I've managed to get it to do some incredible acrobatics to get the outputs they needed through its sophistication. But the fact that people find Mendeley so simple to use, that here, even say on this shot, I deliberately selected Web of Science to indicate how it's operating. It works off the browser. Everybody's working off the browser. You put in your little applet to harvest it from there. As you can see on the right-hand side, it says 20 articles found, which is the results list there, and I could start clicking on the plus buttons. They're going directly into my library, and I have the option there of tagging them, etc., all from within the browser, which people feel comfortable with. They're not having to seek out the export button or the send to or the download, all of that. They just click on an applet up on the bookmark, and they come up with this search window here. Even in comparison, I would say that the fact that I could work through Web of Science and make, go through and make my selection and then export it to my EndNote library, I find arguably that more satisfactory than say potentially doing it window by window. But people are obviously happy working in this method, and so that's why they're selecting it. Even I ask, how sophisticated does it need to be? The fact that one of the features that Mendeley offers is this sort of massive crowdsourced database out the back, which is, if you're bringing in a new record, you can view the research catalog entry for this paper. You can go in and look at the record that may or may not already exist in the system, or as I've done here, you can run a search on this database. And if you look on the one I selected, why information literacy is invisible, I've got a little download option on the left of it, and here I can also click it from here. This document is not in my library. I can click on it and it can start to bring down the PDF. Whether or not it works, I can't say for certain, because there's, to a degree, I'm taking it on face value. I've, as I'll explain later, to get the sort of full, the sort of integration with our subscriptions, say, to databases, etc., that's not available in the basic edition that you can get. You need an institutional edition, etc. That's another issue. But people find that a very satisfactory story there, that you can quickly see it. If we look at it, and everybody's using Google Scholar, I quite like Google Scholar. I'm not afraid to admit to that. If you look at this, where you think with the import into EndNote option, which is one at a time, even with EndNote's own bookmark or applet goes into the bookmarks, it downloads all 10, and then you have to cull in the library. Is that better or worse? I'm not sure, but if you look on the right-hand column, it's saying download PDFs if available. Now, in some cases it will be available, particularly if it's open source, etc., open access rather, or if it's from PubMed, etc. It is a story that a lot of users can relate to effectively. They can use it on platforms that even to date you can't with EndNote. I think I'm right in saying there's not an Android app available yet for EndNote. I came to Mendeley originally because I was running on Linux and using OpenOffice. It works just as effectively on that platform. So, but certainly the mobile devices, and they have always been free. EndNote did, as we know, did try and charge for it. Now that it is free again, but or it is free, but is only available on iPad and possibly iPhone, I'm not sure. The other aspect that they are leading the way, I would argue, you can see EndNote trying to catch up on a lot of these things, particularly, say, the PDFs. The fact that Mendeley can tell a simple story about getting a PDF, whether or not it's effective as a tool for getting the PDFs. If you compare it with EndNote's find full text, their import option for PDFs, etc., compare it, say, with the fact that Mendeley says that you can just pick up and drop a PDF into your desktop version of Mendeley. It will import it, get the records. It will take use the metadata in the PDF, etc. Presumably using a lot of the same methods as EndNote, going back to using the DOI to go back to Crossref, etc. But it's telling that simple story. It's also so that where it's certainly been a front runner, and where EndNote is trying with its beta version of Connections, I think they call it, the collaborative or social media side of Mendeley, I assume must be attractive to a lot of people. It's hard to, in their criteria, to work out, what people are finding, what people like, what they don't like. They certainly must like the simplicity of it, and some of them must like the way that you can collaborate in groups. This is another one. This is one to watch as well, because compared to Mendeley, compared to EndNote, sorry, Mendeley seems a lot more open to integrating with other apps, with other platforms through their APIs. And in fact, they make a virtue of the clients who use the Mendeley API. And if you look at, say, down the bottom there's lab folder, there's other tools that are being offered to assist people in their research, and Mendeley is certainly seeming to be proactive in integrating with those tools. And I would say, Mendeley is sort of sitting within that app culture, where you look for, you have something you want to do, surely there must be an app for it. In this, Mendeley is finding a place in there, when you compare it to EndNote, where it's sitting there solid to a degree, almost immovable, with everybody else trying to work around it. These flexible, and I've heard it described as nimble options, such as Mendeley, certainly seem to be making a place for themselves. And so it's going from the fact that all of those programs that Lynette was talking about, all of them can do the basic grabbing the details, storing the details, putting it into a document. That, all of those can do it. They seem to also be competing in the collaborative side, right through, as we see, into the publishing side. There's things such as, EndNote's trying to catch up with Suggest, where it tries to suggest which journal you should submit to this particular article you're working on, or with a premium account on Mendeley, it's sending you suggested articles for you to read, etc. So, and another important aspect to this is it's starting to offer metrics based on people looking or downloading articles, etc., in this Mendeley database. So it's certainly developments that we need to consider. Another aspect that is I find useful in Mendeley is, even though we offer support in Mendeley, we have it up on our website, I see from our statistics we have had no inquiries, technical difficulties with Mendeley, largely possibly because of its simplicity, but also because they, pretty much from the get-go, seem to have offered a lot of interaction, a lot of responsive online support. If you go through these articles, unlike a lot of the ones on EndNote that seem to be in that impenetrable knowledge base forums to find the answers, they've done good web writing on it, boom, straight to the point, etc. A bit of a sell at the same time, but they do quickly give you the answer instead of trying to plow through a forum. Their outreach takes on interesting forms. One of them particularly is the Mendeley Advisors, where people who are using Mendeley, who get excited by the use of Mendeley, become this sort of unpaid community advisors. And I'd argue, I mean, it's a bit the same as Starbucks or whatever. They get people behind the counter who are like the people they want to attract. So, possibly they're doing a similar thing here to foster that community. The other side of it is the way that they're now approaching us, and have been for a little while. So myself and my colleague Marianne Sato, we've both completed this, and we now have access to 1,000, I think it is, premium accounts that we can offer around. Now, we're not offering them around until we've got to jump through one or two more hoops to be able to ensure that we've got it for the next year, and then we will start promoting it, because this will be giving premium accounts to our users, which gives some features, particularly, say, the increased space, the sort of unlimited number of private groups they can give, etc. But however, this table I've put here is the list, or part of the list, of the things that you get through an institutional edition. Now, those premium accounts, so the user will get something similar to the premium accounts. We get things like the analytics dashboard, link resolver integration. Now, we're going to have to keep an eye on to what degree we are going to get pressure from our community, our researcher community, to pay out for these institutional editions, so that they, on an ongoing basis, have the greater space, and that they're linking into the networks and getting the sort of metrics, getting the kudos from their publications, etc. So, to a degree, I'd ask two questions from this. Are we possibly influencing the decision of researchers unduly by pushing EndNote, a product that I personally think is the best on the market, but that's my decision. Who am I to judge? What criteria should I be using? Should we not be supporting any of them? Should we be supporting a greater range, etc., particularly as the Australian dollar does what it does? We're under various forms of pressure. How do we make this choice for the future? Because this is an important tool, particularly for users of library resources. That's why in my bio I just took the opportunity to push a barrow that, you know, I believe we should be able to respond immediately to our researchers, our academics needing assistance on that, because I think that's an important place for we in the library sector, in the university library sector. But are we the best people to make that choice? So over to you guys.
Okay, thank you, John and Lynette. You've given us lots to think about. What we'll do now is open up to any questions that anyone might have. There is a question there, but I'll pose that in a minute. But if anyone else has got any questions, just put them into the chat window, and we'll see if we can come up with an answer for you. So Leonie has asked, how does Mendeley deal with copyright when it's providing access to content from within the community?
As I see it, it would appear to be done in two ways. Firstly, in the terms and conditions, which you don't read, and the second by being owned by Elsevier. So basically, I suspect that we agree that we do not share those PDFs, etc., any of the material, and I know, say, with the project, the certification program that we did, we had to, you know, put in a document to share, etc. But it was stipulated that it had to be an Elsevier published article, so that covered that. So yes, you know, I think technically it can be done, but I've got to assume that in the terms and conditions we say we will not do it.
Okay, thank you. Has anyone else got any questions?
Yeah, it's Jackie here. I just have a follow-up question from what John was just explaining. So within Mendeley, is there the option to share a record but not the PDF due to copyright restrictions?
I would say yes, particularly because you have to, you know, even if it's readily available, you do have to click the button to download the PDF as such. So I suspect you, so you would, even if somebody had shared it and you didn't want to be infringing copyright, you just wouldn't download the PDF as such. But of course, EndNote too now, with its the full share option, that if you're on the latest or latest couple of versions of 17, through that share option, you are able to pass along PDFs. So technically it's available. I'm assuming the law is still in place. So, you know, that's why I'm, you know, possibly sarcastically saying we agreed to it in those terms and conditions that we don't read.
Thank you. We have another question from Maureen at ACU. Does the link resolver in Mendeley connect to non-Elsevier publications? For example, would it link out to a journal that was published by Thomson Reuters?
It's a bit hard for us to test that one because it's not something that becomes available until you have an institutional edition. So even though, say, both Marianne and I have had our accounts upgraded, it is, you know, just to the premium product. So that the premium is the one you would, if you were just by yourself, you would pay for monthly for increased storage and some increased tools. The link resolver, I've got to assume it's possibly the same as with EndNote, with the open URL, etc. I'm not in a position really to say on that one, particularly when all of their paperwork says you don't get it until you pay for the institutional edition.
Has anyone else got any other questions? No. Thank you, Maureen. Any other questions? Jody, do you think that researchers are using the social media collaboration aspect of Mendeley more than the bibliographic management functions?
Well, I mean, that's why I still say ask the question: how can we judge it? I was just thinking one way we could judge it is by participating, and possibly that is somewhere where we could be present in supporting users by being in those networks, being available through those networks. Now, I don't know if it's the same as going down the old Second Life presence option that sort of was a dead end, but it's hard to tell from the outside. I imagine a lot of people like the idea. To what degree do they really use it? I can't say. There's a lot of good ideas out there, a lot of things we think are fantastic. I mean, I don't know how many of us have still have our Feedly account from when Google Reader went down, but haven't looked at it in the last 6 months. I'm not sure.
Thank you. And there is, Jackie has said there's a research data management group in Mendeley that might be a group that we'd like to join. Has anyone else got any other questions in there?
I've got a question. So it's Jackie here again. One of the things that makes me nervous about Mendeley is when Elsevier bought it out and it became an Elsevier product. And I know a lot of people pulled their publications or their bibliographic lists from Mendeley when that happened. Is there any other software like the ones that Lynette touched on that do promote an open source and open access philosophy, that it's all about the sharing rather than the bibliographic management?
Well, certainly Zotero but they'll always be open source, always be free. The years that I've used it, in the survey I did, we have a significant number of people who identify as Zotero users. There are also quite a few BibTeX people. That's also an open source option. The degree, I'm not sure what degree BibTeX sort of networks and you're part of a community there, but I think Zotero certainly is more active in that way. And the BibTeX people, I think a lot of the times they're in those sciences, etc., where they use a lot of equations, etc., which EndNote is terrible at, and they use LaTeX to work with that, and BibTeX works with LaTeX, etc. But certainly Zotero, the people who use Zotero, when you're speaking to them, they do get a slightly religious look in their eye. So yes, I think Zotero is keeping the dream alive.
Okay, thank you, John. Any more questions, anyone?
I've got another question again, if it's Jackie here, if no one else does. Just about ReadCube. My first impression of that was it was a bit gimmicky and it wasn't really adding a lot of functionality. So Lynette, it was interesting what you presented. And I know at JCU people had problems with downloading PDFs. Do you know if those issues have been resolved, and was that just some teething problems?
I think it's just some teething problems from looking at all the comments in all the forums, because it does say it is getting better. But yeah, it did sound gimmicky when we first looked at it, agreed. But I believe we came across ReadCube when the Mendeley, what do we call them, John? The advisor, the gentleman that came from...
Yes, he was an advisor.
Yeah, an advisor came and they said that they use this. So actually quite a few researchers out there are using ReadCube. So that's why we decided to have a look at it. So
Tracy's just made a comment that she likes the ability to search for a phrase across a whole library or group of PDFs on ReadCube. And that might be... Thank you for that, Tracy.
Thanks.
Is there any other questions?
Definitely something to go back to.
Yeah, I think that I really liked it because you had that interface of there's that enhanced feature that there are background articles coming through as well, and it's an interactive clickable piece of software. Again, I think everyone on the market is trying to, I guess, one-up the whole EndNote. You know, what can they do that is niche that EndNote doesn't do? And that brings back to that point that I said at the end, that a lot of these new software are really good at harvesting information. They're really good at collecting. Everyone's trying to outdo each other by doing the newest thing. But EndNote's still, I feel, the most powerful when it comes to writing, like interacting with your word. So for me, if a researcher comes across and they seem to be quite computer literate, see what it is that they want to actually do. If it's all PDF, put them on the software that can do PDFs really well and get all that information, and then when they're starting to write, then export that type of information into EndNote.
We just got a question. How long are they going to be around for?
Is that for RefWorks?
I think so.
If you're asking for RefWorks, I think they'll be around for a while, because having a look at the timeline, these have been out for a few years now, and they don't seem to be, not just RefWorks, the other ones as well. Looking at the timeline, they just keep improving. Let's just say they keep getting more functionalities, and they're adapting to this time and age. So they're getting more mobile friendly. They're getting more annotated PDFs. So I don't think they're going anywhere. They're just going to keep morphing to something better.
It certainly seems to be the case with EndNote, as they seem to be trying to respond, you know, with the social networking aspect of it, and a few other areas. So, you know, possibly even just, you know, staying with what you know, they're going to be nudged along by their competitors.
Okay. And, just one more question. It's Jackie again. Okay. How does Mendeley compare with EndNote for creating a reference list using either a standard sort of referencing format, so APA or Harvard or one of those? And then a second question, how does it compare with generating a reference list for a particular journal style?
I mean, they've all got that down, really. To a degree, that side of it is covered by pretty much all of them.
Okay, so that's not really a point of difference anymore?
Not really. Yes, I mean, certainly with EndNote, with things like subject bibliographies and aspects like that, and basically because I'm more in a position to talk, you know, to talk about EndNote, I would say that, you know, just a standard list, etc. I would have it down, and certainly the bibliography. They all, you know, have that down pat. So that's baseline stuff. It's, you know, where they're going in other places. I've looked at Mendeley to a degree, and I think particularly with the more technologically challenged, you know, certainly Mendeley is a better option. So sometimes I wonder, you know, pushing people to what I would still argue is a more sophisticated, more adaptable option, is causing undue angst, when possibly they could be better off on something that tells a simple story, lays it out for them. I like with EndNote the ability to strip it back to temporary citations and you know, all of the features that I can use because I feel comfortable with it, that I would personally trust EndNote for that more complicated aspects of it. But how many of our users are manipulating it, creating lists, doing all of that stuff? How many of them are just writing their papers, writing their articles, and sending that off?
Okay, thanks, John.
Okay, thank you. John? Okay, we might just have to wind it up there. It's coming up to the hour. I've just put a link to a survey into the chat window as well, just with some feedback following the session.
And thanks, Sandy. So thanks, everyone. We'd love to have your feedback.
And I'll pass it to you, Jackie.
To develop new learning resources and other activities for QLOC. So, and this was a great example of how we can all benefit from sharing with QLOC, building on Lynette and John's expertise, but also the Bibliographic software group. There's a wealth of knowledge there, and so I've learned some really useful things today. Thank you very much. And thanks for everyone for joining the session.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie.